That's it. Okay, now, what we've been waiting for. Lucas has come all the way from Tennessee, where? White Pine in Tennessee. We saw him at a prepper convention last year in Tennessee, and we're just amazed at the things he was doing. And he's going to come and tell us about all his different inventions. And then after the break, we'll talk about prophecy and the 7 trumpets and end times. And you're welcome to stay for that. And we're going to have refreshments beforehand. So, Lucas.
All right. I don't know, I might end up having to trade up with you for that, if that's okay. I feel much more comfortable using that. Yeah, this just does not want to water. All right, thank you. Just want to thank you for the invite to come out and speak with you. I hope that the information I share with you tonight is very beneficial. I'm a farmer, and I stay constantly broke, so I have to build most of my stuff. I can't just go to the store and buy it. I got to looking at a thermoelectric generator not long ago, and I found out it's $900 on eBay, and I figured that's not going to fly either. So that's the new project that we're working on. Just some quick background on me. I work in ministry. I'm a FEMA volunteer. I'm a Cub Scout leader, 4-H. I'm a busy person, and I see a lot of things go on, and I want to be ready regardless. I'm one of the few people that prep based on Scripture. I'm not ashamed of it. That's the whole reason I prep. Otherwise, I'd sit at home and watch a football game. Bad things happen all the time, especially Winter Storm Iago. I seen some of that when I was out working with FEMA. People walking for miles stranded, they didn't have the proper gear. Bad things happen all the time, and it's good to be prepared. And so what I try to do is, because of my background in industrial maintenance technology, is I got to tinkering one day on the farm, started building some things, and so one thing led to another, and now we just continuously do that on the channel all the time, building something. And so what I'm going to share with you tonight is do-it-yourself alternative energy. I do alternative energy contracting for people. I do it privately, and when I say private, that means we don't talk about it afterwards. That's real private contracting. My builds and stuff I do share, though, publicly, and I've tried to do a little bit of everything so that people can get a grasp of it and an understanding. And it covers just about every field of alternative energy power. I've not had the opportunity to do a water install, hydro for anybody yet, so that would be fun to do one day. Real quickly, before I do get into the presentation, this is a great project to do. I would encourage you to get a hold of it as soon as possible, because Sawyer doesn't have it on the market anymore from the best of my knowledge. But it's an all-in-one kit. I did a review on it on the YouTube not long ago. They've got a bunch of different attachments for it, but this thing will filter 1 million gallons of water. It comes with a guarantee. It's amazing. $50. I've used this off-grid. I can't exactly talk about where, but I'm going to tell you I've been way off-grid and used this at a job. It worked great, and it even comes with a drill bit and the attachment where you can do the gravity feed with the bucket. I've yet to find a water prep that's that cheap, $50, 1 million gallons of water. Berkey can't even beat that. And all you got to do is just reverse flush it with the squeeze tube. So I'm going to try to limit this, keep this at an hour. If you have questions along, please pause me, because I know everyone always does. Real quick, anything that I'm showing here, it's free to watch on 7 Trumpets Prepper channel on YouTube. Right now, we're the 7th most viewed prepping channel on YouTube on stats. I'd like to see it be #1 one day. It's based on Scripture. Everything's free. It never will be charged. Feel free to download the videos. Just don't re-upload them without my permission. I greatly appreciate that. Okay, so the first bill, and I'm going to pass this stuff around, and after the presentation, feel free to come around and pick stuff up, fool with it, ride the bicycle, whatever you want to do. This one I can't pass around, though. It's a little bit heavy. Solar air heating. I took some cardboard, and this does work. It's passive solar. And what happens is the front surface gets heated, and then the air transfers up through it. That heated up my kitchen really good one day, and that was just cardboard. With the slots through it, industrial cardboard. So that got me thinking, well, maybe I can do something to help Mom and Dad offset their electric bill as far as heating their house. And this little unit right here, I think it was moving 80 cubic feet a minute, and that's pretty good for that little fan. And all you have to do is set the thing in the window, and it recirculates the heat that's already in your house. A lot of people build a solar air heater, and they'll pull air from outside the source and then pump it into the house. Why not just heat the air that you already have in there? and it's got solar panels built into it. And I've got all the parts list for it. It's a very cost-effective build, and I put bulletproof glass on it. I happen to have some of that laying around. And so I took it out back to shoot it just to see if it would stop it. Well, it did. It's great. And so I was like, well, heck, I'll just put it on that because I'm very rough with stuff. I actually had this on, and I was going to bring it, show it to y'all today, and I broke it literally driving through town. I'm like, for real? I mean, how do you do that? But anyway, this is something, if y'all want to check out, I'll pass this around. Just be careful and don't cut your hand on the glass. That little thing is great because you can set it on your stove, and I'll get into thermal power in a minute. I just want to pass a few of these little items around. Is that you heat that up and it gives you light off the stove. So you're not having to use DC power, you're not having to use any of your battery bank power later down the road. The guys that invented that, come to find out, I told them the same thing, and they're like, that's the second most used reason that people use that thing, is it lets people know whenever their stove's going out. Because I had it on the stove there, and it was like starting to get cold in the cabin. I was like, I might want to throw another log on. And come to find out, every time that it was starting to die out, that thing will go low on the light, and so it kind of gives you an idea that you need to keep your furnace going, and it's just free power. Yeah, I've seen one of those. Those are great. That right there circulates the heat, but it doesn't do it as well as like that one that's like a turbine one. Volunteering. One thing you'll find out is communication is critical. I drain a cell phone dead in a heartbeat. And portable power, they make these little portable power packs, Goal Zero does. There's a company, Nomad Plug though, that sells it for like $50 cheaper. It does exactly the same thing. And you can use that to charge up your GPS, your walkie-talkie, ham radio, especially good for the ham radio. And how many people in here has a ham radio license to use it? Oh man, y'all need to get that. That's going to be critical one day. Everything went digital. Analog's going to come back big one day in an emergency. Anyway, pass that around. That is a very cost-effective thing to have, at least that you can get your cell phone charged up in an emergency. Hey, will you power that on and plug that together? I'm just going to pass part of this unit around. You can come up here and check out the rest here in a minute when we're done after a while. This right here is powered from salt water, and it'll give you the equivalent of 90 batteries. And a company called Green Evaded makes this. And whenever you're done using it, you just dump it out, put it back on the shelf. Lasts you a long time. That's for like $30. That's a very useful prep to have around, and it has an unlimited shelf life. I'm starting to really take to heart the unlimited shelf life thing, because just like batteries for off-grid dry cell batteries, you can leave them set for a long time. When you get ready to use them, put in the liquid. But a lot of the automotive type batteries, industrial type batteries, they only got so long of a life, but that right there is extremely useful for in a pinch. Okay. If I'm talking too fast, just let me know. Somebody asked Cindy about wood gasification. Who is that person? Not trying to single them out. Okay. The video I've got up on that is about 30 minutes long, and it details every single part that we took from start to finish. The only thing that I would advise people nowadays looking back is you need to go get a bag of kitty litter and use that instead, because the filter media that we made up, it just didn't stop enough of the liquid creosote in it, the off gas. It just didn't do a good enough job filtering it. But with the kitty litter, I think that it would absorb enough of it over time for it to be extremely useful. There's a company, Leaf is in Middle Tennessee, Leaf Generator, and I think they sell their units for about $4,000 or $5,000. Now, I don't have $5,000 to spend. I do have $120 that I'm willing to drop on a few pieces here and there. The unit right there, you get your old 55-gallon drum. The big ammo can is a 120 mic can from the military. That one's a 40 mic can. And that one right there is your filter. And all you have to do is, as you watch the build video, is just connect that filter to the big one. and the wood goes in there, and it starts to pressurize, it starts to heat, and once you hit 451 degrees, you're golden. And all the gas starting to come off will build up in the filter box, and you don't have to put a fan in there or anything. The pressure will push it on, and it's not enough pressure to explode. Or I love how people go on the video and say it's dangerous. It's not that dangerous because it has an outlet. It's always moving forward. And that generator ran really good on it, but I've got it on the repair stand right now because what happened is so many times I ran it and I ran it and I ran it and I didn't have good enough filter. It started to build up on the cylinders. And I think that if, like I said, you use something like kitty litter, that'll really absorb a lot more of that before it goes through, maybe even add an extra filter box. I think it would do really good in a grid down situation if you were really wanting power and you didn't have a generator, gasoline for your generator. That was a fun project me and the guys enjoyed building, and there is a vent off right there too, and you can see it in the build video how to vent that off, and it kind of makes your own little carburetor. You can kind of tweak it to how you want it. Okay, to date, this is the only build that I've come up with other than the thermal power that would, in my opinion, survive a EMP. Scott Hunt has come and talked to y'all before, right? Okay. See, did he ever talk to you about the EMP? He's got a little series up on EMP now. Yeah. He hasn't disagreed with me, and I don't tend, he's one of the few people I tend to respect that whenever they say they're going to build something or they do build something, show it off, they know what they're talking about. He's an engineer, okay, so I can relate to him with some of that stuff. This right here does have a blocking diode in it, but what I tell people is if you worry about a blocking diode going out on you, you can always get it going, the voltage going, open, and then hook to the battery, and then it's going to be forced through to the battery regardless. So even if a blocking diode was taken out of the equation, you'd still be okay. This unit right here, need a volunteer. Somebody want to volunteer? Little man, want to volunteer? Give me a hand.
What's the blocking diode for? Power going back out?
Yeah, keeping power from running the generator. If you want to hop up on that bike or turn on this. If it's too high, you can just stand and turn the pedals either way. If it's too high, you can just turn the pedals if you want to. Go ahead, go ahead. Keep going. Just pedal like you're going to ride down the, yeah, you might have to hop off and do it. Here you go. I tell you what, you hold that and I'll turn it for him if that'll work. Just hold that. You tell me when that hits 13, okay? Tell me when that says 13, all right? Do what? Yeah. What we got? All right, right there is about where you need to be. With it needs to be a little faster. I'm trying to talk, look, and read too. It doesn't take much to get this thing going up to voltage. My son doesn't. Thanks, buddy, for your help. Here you go. I got something for you. Trade out with you. Workman's worthy of his wage. Here's you a good flashlight. That'll last you. This build right here, it costs about $200 to build. It gets plenty of voltage, but you have to pedal a little harder to get amperage. And if you're going to have this set up for a constant off-grid, you really want to get you one of those cheap $20 charge controllers off eBay and run that through it, and then you can just do the Tour de France if you want to. I mean, just pedal your heart out. Because I showed this off at an expo, and I let a little man help me out, and he didn't understand that you didn't have to pedal that hard, and so he just pedaled like he was fighting to get away. And it blew the meter up there. I've got to get a new little meter because it only takes a little. That literally is a great project. If you don't have solar panels, you don't have wind power, later down the road, that is definitely something you can pull out in a pinch and use. All you need is an old beater bicycle. I'm going to do a new build this year that uses a PMG generator from a wind turbine from Missouri Wind and Solar that mounts onto the old style bicycle, the exercise bike, the old one, the old metal frame. I'm going to do a build like that so it's so compact and portable to take around. But the motors that you want to use if you're not going to use a wind turbine motor, permanent magnet motor, is a DC treadmill motor That one's 96 volts, and the reason that I took that is like you don't need 96 volts, so you only need a portion of that power. And then being the fact that you've already geared it down, and then you already have like a 100-to-1 ratio going in, you don't have to pedal hardly at all. So there's no effort in it, so a child can do it. And just a great project all around. Has anybody got questions? I'm trying not to go too fast here. If I'm going too fast, just slow me down.
Yeah, just a suggestion. If you're going to do this project, if you find a recumbent bike, I know a recumbent bike is a lot more comfortable and you can pedal longer than sitting up on a regular bike.
I got you. Yeah, the reason I went with that is because I wanted to be lazy, because I wanted to get the gear ratio out of it. I was like, oh, man. I started doing the math in my head, and it turned out all right. But one thing, the flaw with this is that where it's so big, if you're going to transport, and you have to break it down in two parts, is it has the wing nuts right there. And whenever you go to undo it, you've got to undo the power cord right there too, and then take the belt off. But the good thing about the design like that is as the belt wires, you can move the screws further down in the frame, and it tensions the belt back out again, because it's not like you can run down to O'Reilly's Auto Parts later down the road when you're in hard times. Okay, this is the endeavor for this year. I've got some things coming up big on the channel this year. We're building a portable tiny house on a trailer, and we're going to make sure it's all off-grid. We've got the thermoelectric generator coming up, a new bicycle generator build, a lot of different projects. But the goal with this right here, and I'm going to pass this around, is that you can set this on your stove, and like there's a power pot, and trying to think of another one. There's all these companies that they make these thermoelectric generators, and that's great for charging your cell phone or charging, small devices. I want to charge my house. And so this will actually charge a 12-volt battery. I've got it to the point already where it would charge the 6-volt Trojan batteries like for the golf carts and stuff, but I want more. I want it to get to 12 volts. And currently right now I'm talking to a guy that he's got NASA background, and we're trying to finish this project up. But the build, when it's said and done, you won't have no moving parts, and it'll be cheaper than anything sold on eBay by hundreds of dollars. So hopefully that'll save people in the prepping community a ton of money. I'll pass that around. The reason I got an electrical regular outlet plug on that is when I get my tiny house done, I'm going to have a little DC outlet in the wall that I plug that into, set it on my little wood stove, and it'll backfeed into the battery bank. In the meantime, though, I'm going to have that go into a box. From that wire there, plug into a box, and then out to alligator clips where that you can plug that to a battery bank. And if you go home and research and look online, like I said, the ones that are sold on eBay, they have moving parts, and they cost a fortune. And so hopefully that'll be a resource for a lot of people. This is what thermoelectric power is. That's it. You heat one side and you cool the other side, and it produces power. And current flows through it right there. And I'll show you some more images. The plates that are in that, though, are much larger. Actually, there's 4 huge plates in the bottom of that that are wired in series. And I've got the video about 3/4 of the way done. We're just trying to get the last parts on the test bench done so that everybody can see that. But what it is you have semiconductors, you've got ceramic plates, and hot goes in, ground coming out. Does anybody have those little coffee heater or beverage cooler thing that you can plug into your computer? Yeah, all that is that. You just reverse it. Whenever you flip the switch, it just reverses the polarity, so you're cooling your drink or you're heating it. That's all it is. And that's the same principle behind it. And all that one needs to do to take advantage of this is that you're obviously going to wire those in series, because those plates alone are not enough. It's just like a bunch of solar panels. You want 400 watts for your home, you need 4 100-watt solar panels. Well, same thing with that. If you're wanting to charge 12-volt battery bank, you're going to need a lot more voltage than just 3.6 volts. This is the first prototype that we built, and this was tested at Hurricane Wind Power at their lab, and it did good until we put it on a barbecue grill and we gave it a stress test, and it failed miserably because of one factor. We used these plates right here. They're normal, regular ceramic plates. They have a temperature variance up to 200, I think it's about 220 degrees. They're great for like liquid transfer applications, but they won't work on a heat to cold direct off of a surface. So if you're going to endeavor to build this type of stuff, you want to go to TegTech, TEGTEC.com, and those people sell those plates, and they're rather expensive. They're like 60, 70 bucks a pop, but like I said, by the time you're done, you'll still save hundreds of dollars with this build than to buy off eBay. That's what we're hoping for. I'm still working on the slides. That's where that's going to go eventually, whenever that one works. Great options for a dump load is a lot of people want hot water. Has anybody got a DC pump for their home? For anybody got off-grid water at all? Well, this right here in a bucket, you could heat the water with this right here. This, all you need is the 2 clips to a battery, and you can, like I said, you can cut you a top in a bucket and thread that in. This thing will get your water up to 190 degrees Fahrenheit. These are great for dump loads. People put resistors. I'm gonna start passing that to you. Just pass it. People, I see their wiring installs. They want to have resistors and everything put in, and this is just taking power away from you that you could harness and use for something a lot more viable. People spend a quarter of their electric bill, sometimes a month, heating water they don't use. And if you've got solar and wind right now, instead of dumping to a resistor, you could be dumping to water heating elements. A lot of farmers, such as myself, in the wintertime, such as a cold day today, you have watering troughs on the far end of the farm, they're freezing up. You can take a solar panel and hook to these type right here, just thread that in the bottom of the trough, and put you a waterproof DC cable to it, direct from the panel, and that'll help keep the watering trough warm enough that it won't freeze over. So I mean, there's a lot of application for these water heating elements. These type right here can actually replace the ones that are in your AC unit right now. And I showed in a video about a week and a half ago how that you can still, later down the road, you can take those AC water heaters and you can use the transfer in it for setting the temperature, because these don't have the temperature adjustment, but you can still use the water heater adjustment knob that's in it. So here's an example of what I'm saying. Here's your solar and wind coming in, and here's going to your battery bank. Instead of dumping that out to your resistor, you would just wire that in off of your dump load. This is like the most simple 3-point charge controller there is. There's only 3 points that enter or exit from it. It's the in from the your input, and then the output, and then whatever's left over to dump. And so you can run that over to DC elements. Now, if you want to have the one that you can adjust, though, all you've got to do is wire that in. You can wire that in separate with the dump already being there, and then whenever you do want to heat water, you can heat it additionally off of the one that has a switch. And that can save you a lot of money down the road. This is how I paid for most of my alternative energy projects, is I made Uncle Sam reimburse me at the end of the year. There's 2 ways you can go about this. I don't know, being down here in South Carolina, I go so many different places and talk that every state varies. I will tell you this, I loathe my electric company. I'll be very straight with you. They know that TVA in our state, we get a $1,000 energy credit for just saying, hey, I'll make power. Well, here's $1,000, thanks for doing that for the government. And then our electric company comes right in and just scoops that up with, I think there's a $300 interconnection fee, and then a $300 this, and then there's another. For a piece of paper, it's ever so many dollars just for a signature on a piece of paper. But this website right here, if you want to write that down, is a great place to go to find the state incentives along with federal for these alternative energy projects. Because if you look on the federal, that can be counted, and that can be counted. I threw a solar panel in it, it counts. And that Thermoelectric counts. All these things count. Those DC elements. I mean, I've got a tally list this year for my own projects alone. I think I'm going to turn in $4,000, so that should be about $1,300 back in my pocket just for building stuff. And I'll show you the sheet on the federal government here in just a second. For alternative energy supplies, and I ain't getting a kickback for this, this is where I've resourced stuff: Hurricane Wind Power, Missouri Wind and Solar, and Solaron has good solar generators for your home. Show you that here in a minute. Did anybody see Brian May on Doomsday Preppers? He was like episode 2 or 3 on season 2. Anyway, he's got huge wind turbine on his house, and he turned this in Indiana, and they cut off of his allotment for exemptions. They gave him a huge break on his tax value. So that was a good incentive for him, but the federal is what, I tell everybody, this is what really matters. The federal is, to date, you still get 30% back at the end of the year. You can turn it in, you get 30% back whatever you spend in. So you spend $3 million, you get back $1 million. You spend $300, you get back $100, you know. And it qualifies, it says here, the minimum, or the eligible renewable technologies is solar, water heat, photovoltaic, wind, fuel cells, geothermal heat, thermal power account for that, other solar electric technologies, fuel cells, and I mean, it pretty much covers everything on the federal. And the only thing about it is down here, the fuel cells, where's it at right here? You have to have a minimum of half kilowatts, so that's 500. What I would tell you to do is get with your tax professional and make sure that they don't have an issue with it. But on the form, and H&R Block's where we always go and get ours done, and every year they change the form. But I would have your tax professional look at it, and like I would just tally up everything you've built that year that you've hooked into your home, and if it equals over 500 watts, I'd count it all, because that's exactly what I'm going to do. And I did that with wind turbine bill last year for Dad. So, with any questions on that?
Those 3 websites again?
They are, hang on, I'll just back up here where you can write it down. And I have a card for Hurricane Wind Power, and I have one for Missouri Wind and Solar. I've got to get with Aaron to get one for his solar generators. Both of those places you can get wind turbines, solar panels, most of the small stuff. And this is a neat little unit to have. I would encourage you, if you're going to build a lot of power projects, even for testing things. Most people don't have the money to spend on a high capacity DC amp meter. So this right here is an affordable purchase you can make, and you just hook this in to the power production end of, like, for example, your solar panel. Hook the other end to your battery bank. It'll tell you your output, how well you're doing with it, amperage, voltage, the whole 9 yards. And it's so simple, you can just put in your pocket and take with you. I put that in my work pouch when I'm out doing work, and I can test and make sure stuff's still in good shape right away. Got that? Okay. So with solar power, there's 3 different options you can do with it. I like to tell people about this one. These little boxes right here. Has anybody tried to tie into their electric company here? Sell power back to the electric company? Okay. The only reason I say is because if you get the federal incentive for tying in, you can always have the multi-disconnect switch put in for later down the road when you don't need them no more. And you've done got the money out of them. Is this right here, you can plug these into your home. Most of them are only CE listed though. So as long as your electric company doesn't require UL listed approval for that box, and it has the anti-island protection, you can get these pretty affordable. They start as low as like 300 watts. And my friend's got a project he's working on right now, because he doesn't have the same electrical provider as me, so he can get away with it. Is you just hook in three 100-watt solar panels like into that particular unit, plug it right in the wall, and start reducing your electric bill right now. And as that you're working on getting a battery bank and getting all those things put in place for later down the road, you can be making some money back off of it and still get your 30% incentive off of it.
But I got a question. Back up there a second.
Yes, sir.
All right, after you come through the inverter, is that receptacle in the home right there, the power point?
Yes.
All right, and it's feeding back out into the power supply line? Okay.
Which more than likely what happens is that you're going to use every bit of it. I mean, like if you've got, if you're drawing a kilowatt in your house already, and then you plug that in. It's just your house is going to consume it, but at least it's going to cut your bill down. And my point of showing that to people is, for me, I'm a prepper. But for the time being, at least I can make some money back and pay for my preps. You know,
Is that going through the main power panel, or?
that's a non-dedicated, that's a circuit that doesn't have a dedicated load on it. So like, in other words, I wouldn't plug that in where the same circuit I'm pulling something out for the microwave or something like that. That's a circuit, nothing's in the going back to the box on. Okay, this is the this is option 2, is legitimately getting an install put on top of your house, combine that all in the box and come down. And like I was saying about the dump and those DC loads, like you can, in the tiny house when we get it done, I really want to heat and pump all my water based off of DC power. I want everything to be DC, so I'm going to try to take advantage of all that I can, put a couple panels on top of the tiny house. Just run that down, in through your inverter, and then into the panel, back to the utility company. The utility company comes and does that. When I do the work for people, I only do this part here, and they come and finish that up, and that's where they hammer you that $300. These are neat people. I have yet to get to see one of these plugged into a home, but I think you can watch the install video now on YouTube, and you could reuse this later down the road. Is that it's like the cable pin almost looks like the old iPhone 4 plugs, and you just plug this in from the panels, and that goes straight in to a wall outlet through the inverter, and they've got this specialty box, and this is UL listed from what I could find. And so if your electrical company does haggle you for things that are CE listed, well, here's a window for UL listed, and you can get by with it. And now you have a ground mount, you got solar panels, and you got everything you need, and then later down the road, when you can afford it, you just take this out of the equation, run that into an inverter to your battery bank, and then just pull that power from it for whatever you're wanting to use it for. If I'm going too fast, just tell me. I'll slow down here. And here's ultimately what everyone wants, is you have, this is your Trojan batteries or dry cell battery bank. Got the power coming in, going straight down to charging your battery bank. Got the DC loads if you want to dump any off. Obviously you can plug in your generator. I don't know why that's in that. So we got to take that out of that slide. But then to your inverter, to your house, and you can use that for all your household loads. And that is, that's what most people, that when they go off grid, you know, that's the setup right there that you see most people commonly have. I mean, when I first did the first solar on my home, I just went to Harbor Freight and got one of those 45-watt jobs, slapped that on the roof, ran that down to 2 batteries from industrial truck batteries, and then just hooked that into a 2,000-watt inverter. It came a snowstorm, and everybody's house was dark. Mine was lit up. I made sure, and just, I'm not endorsing this, I'm just saying it just so happens if you have a male plug and you turn off your main power from the electric company and you happen to plug that in the wall, and then you happen to have a male plug on the other end, plug that in your inverter and flip it on and backfeed your whole house. But I wouldn't endorse saying do that, just saying later down the road, if you don't have all that hardwired before then, you might want to use that. And this is an example of a really nice battery bank. That's the ultimate goal, in my opinion, right there, of having off-grid power. Brian let me use his picture as courtesy of Nat Geo too, that he can run his house, I think it's for 2 weeks straight, without even missing a beat. No wind, no sun, no nothing, and he can run his house that long. That's just, for me, I just need a few lights and fire up the wood stove, and that'd be fine by me. But I mean,
Well, you got 30 batteries there?
he actually, what was it, 56? I think he's got 56, and he don't even have them all wired up. He told me not long ago, though, some of them starting to go bad, so he's having to go through and check every single one. But I mean, I put together, you can see in the complete wind turbine install from start to finish video series I've done, the one I've done for my dad on the farm. And I've got like a little shelf built for him that they can go on the bottom and the top, but I'll probably do good to get him 16 batteries in the thing, let alone afford them. But that took Brian a long time, and he bartered with people, and he done just a little long to get it and trading, and finally got it to that point. But it's amazing stuff right there.
Probably, in my opinion, will probably be the hardest thing is keeping up with the battery, the bad battery, the good battery,
Well, you know, a lot of people get those dry cell batteries, and they'll just store the components away for it until later, and then whenever, you know, the time comes, they've got a backup for that. And I think that's great because liquid batteries go down on you after so many years. I think 2014 personally has been the worst year for me ever. We've had a $2,500 transmission rebuild. I thought I wasn't going to be here today. I didn't get out of the shop until 1 o'clock. I had to take it back after paying them $2,500 the other day. Then we had a battery go down on the pickup truck. I got to put brakes on that. Vehicle, I've gotten a real good run of it this year, and batteries was definitely on the list. Those things ain't cheap. The Optima Yellow Top is what I'm using for the farm, and I don't have no complaints whatsoever. We yanked one of those off the battery bank the other day and put on the tractor for Dad, and that thing fired up. I mean, those are hot batteries. They have a lot of power. Whenever power goes out, most people don't have a means to even have lights in their home. This is a gift that keeps on giving. It's only like $200 on Solaron's website. I own one of them. It does a great job. I'm probably going to get one when I can afford it and give it as a gift to the guys down at the fire department. They already got some solar panels we got them hooked up with, but I'm probably going to give them one of these. And I got no complaints on the thing. It runs great. The batteries hold charge, and it's plug and play. But let me go. Oh, I don't have the one on there that I've used. Oh shoot, I'll have to put that slide there. I have the one that's just the next size down from that, and the reason I'm showing these generators is not to sell you a product. There's something neat and unique about this, and what caught my eye whenever I met him in Ohio at an expo. They have the MC4 plugs on the back of the unit. You don't have to hardwire nothing. Everything's wired in, the inverter, the battery, the MC4 cable, so you literally just take a panel or a string of panels with the wire cable connectors and just plug it in the back of it. You're done. You don't need no degree in rocket science. I mean, it is literally as simple as it gets. I don't know why other people won't do that out there in the market for us preppers, because, I mean, I might be very tech savvy, but my mom, you know, she can cook and I can't cook. I literally set our stove on fire at home. My wife about got on to me about that, and I burnt the floor. You know, everybody has their skill sets. Well, this kind of eliminates it for everybody. You just plug that up and you're done. There's no problem there. And they have some that go all the way up to 2,000 watts. I mean, unless you're really trying to run air conditioning unit or something like that, they've got plenty of power, and they even custom build them. But this is my passion right here, is small wind power. That is my friend Brian's wind turbine that we took up to the Ohio Preparedness Fair Expo. It's a really neat expo. People say that you can't make wind power. I get so sick of hearing that. Everybody thinks you're putting up like a 5 megawatt. You know, I've just got back from driving out in California not long ago, and they have like the huge megalithic turbines on the mountaintop. Those won't work for us in South Carolina or Tennessee. That's not going to fly. But what I will tell you that'll work is these little things here. Small wind power makes good power. My dad has had no complaints from what I did for him. I actually am a fan of vertical wind turbines. That's going to be a project coming up, is a little vertical wind turbine. If you've seen the one that I had on Doomsday Preppers, I custom built that one, but I'm actually going to build a nicer one later down the road. That's the one I built for my dad, and the piping is actually recycled from the tubing that goes on these big dump trucks that have the tarps go across. It was aluminum, and it was kind of aerodynamic, so we had that welded up, Mr. Baxley's weld shop, and I fabricated the rest and put it together. But small wind, the other day, the turbine pole, for the first time in forever, the winds were so high at the house the other day that the pole was actually bending with the guy wires. I haven't seen that in a long time. And those blades catch it. I mean, they really pull it into it. And I'm sorry I couldn't bring a turbine. I actually had a turbine head at home to work on in the shop. I wanted to bring it tonight, but I've got to go do another presentation about essential oils in North Carolina tomorrow, so I couldn't fit it all in the vehicle. But that right there, you're looking at about easy 500 or 600 watts of power and a good wind. The other day, I honestly went in there and I was just about to pull the disconnect, because I mean, it's just like wanting to yank it off the pole. I thought it was going to come a snow blizzard the other day at our house. I mean, it looked nasty. But
Any idea how, on average, how active that would be in a month, say, where your dad lives? I mean, how often is it spending
Well-
Maybe enough where it's, if you're garnering power.
Okay, well, I'm cheating a little bit. I've got a hill, you know, the lay of that, like here's Smoky Mountains. It kind of dips and is flat out through here, but when this kind of deceiving, because whenever you get up here, there is a huge hill that this sets on. But if you have like here where you all are located, I would estimate you'd probably get 2 or 3 good days a week of, you know, good wind, especially out toward the beach. Man, if I lived next to the beach, I'd put one up. That'd be like the first project I'd done, because you get those gusts off the ocean. But they make good power. There is a blade set that they manufacture now that's much larger. I'm actually going to swap, and they're Falcon blades. They were featured on that GASIFIER movie, Retaliation, if you've seen the scene where, the second one, where the scene where they're going underground there to get Cobra Commander. Anyway, I'm not trying to get off on some TV show. The reason that I say that is you can see those huge blades turning. They used that as a movie prop. Those blades catch a lot of wind. And so if you weren't getting enough wind with those smaller blades, you just slap that on there and get even more. The weight, the only thing I'll say as far as the turbines go is if you get the small single shaft turbines, they're fine on a small pole, even on a portable mount that I done off grid for a build job not long ago. But if you get a dual PMA, you have to actually fabricate a good pole. I mean, it's got to have something that'll last you, because that's only a single PMA, and that aluminum construct right there gets a lot of tension at times.
What's the rule of thumb on how high they gonna put that thing up, or?
I tell everybody 30 foot. And the reason I say, I actually only put mine like 25. And the reason being is I can park the tractor over there and put the extension ladder and go up and maintenance it, because I made mine a fixed mount. I have portable pivot mounts, 2 of them, that I can take out on a portable job site and set up, and they can pull down and be maintenance. And they're 20 foot also. But I wouldn't go more than 30 foot if it's just, you know, you're just doing it to have power. Jeff down at Missouri Wind and Solar, if you turn this church up on its side, that's how tall his turbine pole is. It is megalithic. It's like 60 feet up in the air. He's got guy wires. It looks like one of these FM radio broadcast towers. I mean, it's got guy wires running all over the place. Well, he has a pivot for it that's concrete. He has this huge turnbuckle thing concreted, and they have a winch that they lay it down. But he owns a wind turbine company. He can play with that. You know, I don't have that access. But if you want wind power, I think if somebody was starting out right now, if you said, would I do wind or would I do solar? I'm passionate about wind power. You need to do solar because it's very simple to do. But wind power is not difficult at all. You really just, the 3 leads, they've got this so simple nowadays that just goes into a rectifier. In this little box, you take the 3 wires into the box, and it comes out with 2 wires, hot in the ground, and that's it. It just goes into a charge controller, and either you can dump that down in your battery bank or run it and sell it to the electric company. Wind power doesn't sell as good back to electric companies as solar does. They just don't fool with it. I really can't tell you much more than that why. They don't pay. If you're wanting it for off-grid power, you're great. And this is an example of that right there. Here's the wind turbine, and there's videos on all this on the YouTube channel. I have cards up here for my YouTube. Is that when you come in off your turbine, I do everything you see here too, and I passed around, is built in 12-volt land. When you start getting in 24 and 36, I guarantee you probably the person sitting next to you will not know how to maintenance that should something happen to you. So just something always to keep in mind. Everybody can keep up with 12 volts. I have a stop switch for my turbine, and because they're 3-phase, when that drops that switch, it causes an electromagnetic field and it won't turn. It's like an e-brake. And from there, it goes into your charge controller. Some people put an amp meter in. You need a fuse. Fuse is very important. Most charge controllers nowadays, they have that built in, and that goes right to your battery bank. And all that you have to do is pull from that through whatever size inverter you want for your home, your cabin, your tiny house, whatever the case may be. This is the ultimate setup that any homesteader or prepper should want. You plug in the bicycle generator over here on the screen, and then the thermal generator over here. for long you've got your so many redundancies for power, you're golden. The main thing is that I would encourage everyone, and I've got to do this maybe this year, you can see it on the panel, is I've already done a panel, wire panel, showing people how to do wind power, but I'm going to do one, I've done one with solar, but I've not done it where they're both on the same panel, and that way people can see how that you can tie both of those in together.
What's our order control required for either, for both?
Yeah, this right here, that's another thing you can take out of the equation. You can run this and this through the same charge controller. Midnight Solar is a good charge controller. If you've got tons of money out back, you know, I mean, I always try to tailor my thoughts to the most cost-effective means of getting things done, because just it's hard to come by the cash. And that about wraps it on the wind power. I know I've like glazed over all that real quick, but a lot of people always have questions. I've traveled enough that people just have questions about projects or things, and I kind of wanted to get to that point where it's just what your questions are and try to answer that, because we're always tinkering, and we're always willing to tinker on something. We use all the YouTube money for tinkering, so that helped the ministry. So has anybody got any questions? Yes, sir.
The wind turbine you're talking about, is that like the car alternator coming back?
Okay, the car alternators that, the blanket on that, my statement on that is when people say that it's a permanent magnet generator, there is like the car alternators where people took the guts out of it and then rebuilt it to be DC. And then there's the actual companies like that will they'll take the Delco bodies and they custom manufacture a DC parts to go inside of that, and the magnets and everything. And a lot of people will take a permanent magnet like a treadmill motor and make a turbine out of it. But my best advice is to get a PMG, permanent magnet generator, that's actually, you know where you got it from. That way if something happened to it, you got a warranty and you can get it replaced.
You recommend staying 12 volt to do that?
I wouldn't do anything beyond 12 volt. People say, you know, you lose amperage and you lose a lot of power draw. Honestly, I'm not trying to run a golf cart or something. You know, I mean, they need a lot of power. I've never really used more than 2,000 watts off grid. I think it's interesting. A lot of people's like, I think I can live off grid, and you give them like 2 or 3 days test of it, just like, don't turn this on, don't turn that on. It's like, man, I can't live like this, you know. And then people will get a home and they'll get it wired up off grid, and they'll have tons of power in their battery bank to start off with, but they ain't got no sun that day, and the wind might not blow for a couple days, and they just keep using the power, and then before long they're like, man, I don't have power no more. And so it's a give and take with it. I live a really simple life on the farm, and I don't even watch TV. I get the TV for the wife and kid, but I don't even use TV, so I think I'll be fine. But you really need to take, there's this watt plug that you can get, Missouri Wind and Solar. You plug it in the wall, you plug all your appliances into it, and it tells you, you know, how much you're using and kind of meter it out. TVA in Tennessee comes out, does an audit too. But that kind of tells you later down the road, if you're wanting to use that much power, how big a system you need to put it back.
Also on the water heaters, the 12 volt DC water heaters, if, say I were to take the heating coil out of my hot water tank that I've got now, put in the 12 volts and run off the dump load, would that be enough to heat 30 or 40 gallons of water on the dump load?
Yeah,
PV panels in the winter, right?
yeah, as long as, I mean, you're not using it like, you know, every 5 minutes or so. But I mean, like, yeah, like, you know, let it run during the day, dump all that, and then at nighttime, if you want to play it safe, what you can always do is have your people put their water heater on a timer, and then they leave the top, like you can leave the top one AC and replace the bottom one with a DC. And so if you do have hot water, then you don't need to cut the AC one on. And then if you do want it cut on, you can, and that way you've got the best of both worlds. Those little tiny 15-gallon water heaters, people will take and put the 1 DC element in that, and, you know, run that as a dump load, and that thing should be scalding hot. But where did those get to? Okay, well, on the back of it there, it's stamped. If it's an actual DC element, people will take those elements, not the one that's adjustable, but that one right there, the other one he's holding. On the back of it, it should be stamped in the plastic, or it should be embossed in the metal. And if it's not an authentic DC element by trade standards. Because people get on eBay, you got to really be careful what you buy nowadays, as if people ain't scamming always. But they will take and hot melt the AC markings off the plastic. They'll turn around and sell that on eBay for DC, and it's not. So.
Missouri one.
Any outlets on turbines that you know of at decent price or?
If you're wanting small wind, I would recommend those two companies. But if you're wanting a vertical wind turbine, there's a company called Goodcraft, and I'll probably be getting mine from them. They make 12-volt ones that are like $160. I mean, that's really cheap for a wind turbine, I think, in my opinion. And you can, if you have like a tiny house, or if you have a camper, RV, anything that's portable, you can just make you a little pivot mount. And it's so light, literally like the thing's only like this big, but it catches a lot of wind. I mean, like here, if you stuck one, for example, on top of the church, the thing probably running off the wheel all the time. I mean, it takes very little wind whatsoever to get it started in rotation. It just keeps going. And that's another recommendation. Those are horizontal turbines that they build, but that company, Goodcraft, is vertical turbines. And they're not a bad price. Like I said, I'm going to buy one just as soon as I can afford it.
Have you done anything else with the, like solar heat? Like when you guys are using like gutter pipe, putting it in a box? Have you seen that?
No, I haven't done that yet, and I'll tell you for why. A guy asked me that on YouTube the other day. I have this policy that I always have to recycle one thing in every build that I do. And so like sometimes I get like tons of pieces worked into a project, like an old beater treadmill, old beat up bicycle. I had to figure out something to do with that, so I put the bulletproof glass in the old cans. But the ones I've seen where people have used the gutter, that's awesome stuff. I'm blown away by the cardboard. You look at Green Power Science, that guy, he had it like scalding hot. He was trying to hold his hand in the end of it, and it was just burning his hand up, and it was just cardboard laid out in the sun painted black. I was blown away. I mean, and like I said, as a matter of fact, if somebody wants that, I really don't have to haul that back to the house. I've got a few goodies to give away if anybody wants it. I just don't want to haul this stuff around anymore. That bike, I'm actually going to put a YouTube video up and sell that thing, and use the profits to build another bicycle generator probably coming up next month. So just holler at me if you're interested. I got a few goods to leave behind. I won't have to haul back to Tennessee. All righty. All right. Well, thanks for the invite. It's always fun meeting other people.